He told me to stop calling him. So I did. But not the way he expected. In the next few minutes, you'll learn why some silences aren't peaceful. They're tactical. I raised him. I protected him. Then I found out what he did with that trust. They thought I wouldn't notice, that I'd stay quiet, that mothers don't fight back. Thank you for being here. Have you ever done everything right, only to be told you were too much? Leave a comment below, even just one word. Where are you watching from? Or what time is it right now? And if quiet, powerful stories speak to you, don't forget to subscribe for more. This is my story, and it's not what you think. Mom, stop calling me. You're too much lately. He didn't even say goodbye. The line went dead like a switch flipped, sudden and surgical. For a second, I held the phone to my ear, thinking maybe I misheard. Maybe it cut out. Maybe there was more. There wasn't. Just the dull hum of silence. Not just from the phone, but from the whole room, from the house, from my chest. I lowered the phone slowly like it was made of glass, and any sudden movement would shatter something in me. My hand trembled slightly. I wasn't sure if it was from hurt or rage or something older and harder to name. I had waited 3 days for him to call back. 3 days since I last left a voicemail. Just wanted to hear your voice, I said on the message, and tell you the robins are back, nesting under the porch roof again. I thought he'd smile at that. He used to run out barefoot every spring to see them. He'd name them all. Robin Hood, Queen Beak, Fluffers. He'd watch them with that round-eyed, 5-year-old reverence only children and saints seem to have. But now he doesn't have time for birds, or for me. The kettle began to scream from the stove, a sharp, impatient whistle that snapped through the silence. I didn't move. It kept going, shrill, demanding, alive, unlike this house. I finally stood, not because I needed tea anymore, but because I needed the noise to stop. I turned off the burner and lifted the kettle, the steam fogging my glasses. My fingers curled tighter around the handle than necessary. The cup I poured into had a faded crackle glaze and a small chip at the rim. It was his favorite when he was little. Mom's mug, it used to say. The letters had worn off long ago. Now it was just a blank ceramic shell, like everything else. I sat down with the cup in my hands and stared at the kitchen wall. The clock ticked once, twice, 3 times, then stopped. I didn't realize the batteries had died. Or maybe I had. There's a journal I keep in the drawer by the fridge. I pulled it out and flipped to the back pages. Not for poems, not for thoughts, just for dates. I added another one with my pen. March 2nd, Ethan told me not to call. I paused, then added, ever again. Then I sat there, breathing, not crying. Not yet. There would be time for that. Later, I opened the freezer and placed my phone inside, beside the frozen peas and a half-eaten box of waffles. Not because I was losing it, because I needed to stop waiting for it to ring, because that small sound, that hope in my chest, was the real poison, and silence, at least, is honest. You said you'd come by this weekend. Things got busy, I told you. Don't make a big deal. He said that last month, and the one before, and so I baked the pie anyway, Ethan's favorite, cherry, with the messy lattice crust he used to help me braid when his hands were still sticky from jelly sandwiches and Play-Doh. I even remembered the cinnamon sprinkle he always insisted on. It sat on the kitchen counter for 4 hours, untouched. The house smelled like memory and burnt sugar. When it cooled, I wrapped it in foil and left it by the back door. Maybe a neighbor would take it. Maybe no one would. The mailbox was empty again. No birthday card from him. My birthday was 2 days ago. Not that I expected anything, except I did, and I hate myself for it. Instead, there was a digital invitation to his daughter's school fundraiser. Not addressed to me directly, just a mass BCC. I clicked on the link, stared at the RSVP button, then closed the browser. What would I wear? What would I say? "Hi, I'm Ethan's mom. I used to be allowed to call him." The photo on the wall caught my eye as I walked past the hallway. It's the old one, framed, the three of us. Ethan, 5 years old, perched on my shoulders, me and Daniel, his father, holding hands. A family frozen in time, cheeks sunburned, eyes wide. I took it down. I tried not to look at our faces as I slid the photo from the frame. The glass nicked my thumb. A thin red line rose, slow and delicate. I stood at the kitchen sink and let it bleed into a napkin. No drama, just red on white. Later that night, I opened my closet and pulled down a box labeled Keepsakes. Inside, Ethan's hospital bracelet, his third-grade drawing of a house with the words, "Home Anchorin' Mom." A faded ticket to his college graduation, a letter he wrote in high school. "You're the best mom in the universe." I read it twice. The handwriting slanted left, hurried, honest. I folded it back and whispered, "What happened to him?" And then a darker thought, or what happened to me? That night, I dreamed of the robins again, only this time their nest had fallen. Scattered straw, cracked blue eggs, feathers everywhere. One bird flapped weakly, dragging a bent wing. I woke with my heart pounding, the pillow damp. It wasn't the dream. It was the way I knew what it meant. The next morning, I boiled water and made tea. Same kettle, same chipped mug. I didn't text Ethan. I didn't call. I sat at the table and looked out the window, where the porch light caught the rim of a small nest in the gutter, rocking in the wind. Then I opened the drawer and added to the journal, March 5th, pie untouched, no word. The nest is starting to fall apart. But something was forming, a shape beneath the grief, a restlessness, like the silence had begun to rot, like maybe it was time to make noise. The bank smelled like lemon floor polish and cold calculations. I hadn't been inside in over a year. Everything looked shinier, somehow newer, like even time had moved on without me. The young woman at the front desk smiled tightly. "Do you have an appointment, ma'am?" "No," I said, "but I have a trust account I'd like to discuss." She typed something quickly. "Name?" "Eleanor Grayson. I'm the grantor." The screen blinked. Her smile faltered. "One moment," she said, then disappeared down the hallway like a ripple vanishing under ice. 10 minutes later, I was seated in a glass-walled office with a man in a blue suit named Connor. He shook my hand like he expected me to be fragile. I didn't grip back. "So," he said, smiling with his teeth but not his eyes, "what can we help you with today?" "I'd like to review the current status of the Grayson Family Trust." He hesitated. "Of course. I believe your son, Ethan, is the acting beneficiary, correct?" "I'm aware," I said, "but I'm still the primary grantor. I want to see all activity from the last 18 months. Connor blinked. "That's not standard protocol without prior notice." "Then consider this notice," he typed reluctantly. The printer beside him hummed to life. As he gathered the pages, I noticed a tremor in his fingers. That told me more than anything on paper. The printout was thick, dozens of transactions, and names I didn't recognize. LLC payments, business accounts, transfers to a digital marketing firm in Nevada. I pointed. "What's this?" He cleared his throat. "Mr. Grayson authorized a strategic investment portfolio." I didn't. "I'm sorry?" "I never approved that. I never signed off on external use of principal funds." He shifted in his chair. I took the folder and flipped to the signature page, and there it was, my name, but not my hand. Outside, I sat in my car with the engine off and the windows up. I stared at the paper in my lap. The signature was close, very close, but the E curved slightly different. The L was too clean. It was someone mimicking me, someone who'd practiced, someone who knew how I wrote my name. I drove home in silence. No radio, no thoughts, just noise inside my chest. When I got in, I didn't take off my coat. I went straight to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and drank it all in one breath. Then I opened the drawer and wrote, March 7th. He used my name, my money, without asking. I paused, then underlined it. That night, I checked my email. I hadn't looked at Ethan's messages in weeks. Most went unanswered. But one caught my eye, not from him, from his wife. Or rather, to his wife. He'd sent it by mistake. Or maybe forgot to remove me from the CC field. It read, if she pushes, we'll claim confusion. Play the aging parent angle. She won't want the embarrassment. No greeting, no hesitation, no shame. I didn't delete it. I printed it. Then I sat with it in my lap, breathing slowly, until the feeling rose in me like smoke from a controlled burn. Not fire, not yet, but heat. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I got a pen, and under the last journal entry, I wrote, March 7th. I think they forgot who I was before I was his mother. I sat at the dining table with a yellow legal pad and a black pen. Not the computer, not the phone. Something about ink felt more real, more deliberate. I stared at the top of the page for a long time before writing the first word. Dear Ethan. It looked too polite. I crossed it out. Ethan. Still too soft. Eventually, I left the salutation blank and just started writing. I told him about the nest, how the wind had taken one of the eggs, and how I'd watched a blue shell crack on the porch tiles like a dropped ornament. I wrote that I remembered when he was 5 and cried when I stepped out of the room for 5 minutes. I wrote that I couldn't remember the last time he asked me how I was sleeping. I wrote that pretending not to notice his distance was a form of self-harm. And then I wrote the sentence that shook the pen in my fingers. You didn't just take money? You took my name, my trust, and you used them like tools. The words sat there, unmoving, heavy. I added, your father would have never... Then stopped, then scratched it out. This wasn't about Daniel. This was about me. The letter was 3 pages long when I finished. It was angry, but not cruel. Honest, but not desperate. I folded it carefully and slipped it into an envelope, then placed it in the back of the drawer with the rest of the letters I'd written but never sent. One for his wedding, one when he moved out and forgot to tell me, one when he told me to stop visiting unannounced. A pile of silences. Written proof of a voice I wasn't allowed to use. The next day, I woke up early. No alarm, just the kind of waking that comes with certainty. I made tea and opened the window, letting the cold air bite at my skin. I didn't cry. That part had calcified into something harder, something like purpose. I called my attorney. Not the firm we used with Daniel, someone new. Fresh eyes. A woman named Melissa, younger than Ethan, but with the kind of voice that clipped through doubt. She asked me questions. I answered all of them, clearly, even the ones that made my throat tighten. Do you believe your son forged your name? Yes. Do you have proof? Enough to start. We scheduled a meeting for Tuesday. I circled the date in my journal. March 11th, legal review at 2 p.m. Beneath it, I wrote, they miscalculated. I'm still here. That evening, I sat at the kitchen table with the original trust documents in one hand and a magnifying glass in the other, page by page, clause by clause. I found the line Daniel had insisted on before he died. All modifications must be approved by the grantor in writing, witnessed and notarized. I traced it with my finger. He had protected me, even from our own son. Later that night, I opened my inbox. One new message. From Ethan. Subject, hey body, just checking in. Hope you're doing okay. Let's talk soon? No mention of the bank, no mention of the forged documents, no mention of the wife's email, just hollow words tossed like breadcrumbs. I didn't reply. I printed the email and stapled it to the trust printout. Then I wrote in my journal, March 11th, he's trying to soften me. I won't be softened. And below that, it's not about revenge. It's about remembering who I was before guilt became my religion. It started with a pocket dial. At least, that's what I assumed. I was folding laundry, towels still warm from the dryer, when my phone buzzed once, twice, then went quiet. A missed call from Ethan. No voicemail. Seconds later, a message appeared. Voice message, 1:37. I stared at the screen. I almost deleted it. Then, instinct, I hit play. At first, just the rustling of movement, footsteps, a chair creaking, distant music, maybe a podcast playing in another room, then her voice, his wife. "She's still emailing you?" One line, just saying she found something weird in the account. I didn't open it. Then Ethan, low and annoyed. "She's spiraling, don't worry, I'll handle it." "She won't back off, Ethan. She still thinks she has control." A pause. The sound of glass clinking. "If she keeps digging," he said. "We say she's confused, memory loss, paranoia. She's 72, it's believable. She's 68. Whatever, close enough." Laughter. Not cruel, just casual, like they were discussing bad weather or a parking ticket. "You're sure she can't touch the fund?" she asked. "She won't. Even if she could, she wouldn't. She's too proud. That's the thing with her generation. They'd rather suffer than make a scene." And then, the last line. "She won't do anything. She's just background noise now." I didn't cry. That part of me had dried up. Instead, I replayed it. 3 times. Then I pressed save and renamed the file. Background noise.mp4a. I put the phone down gently on the table, like it was holding something radioactive. My hands were steady. I picked up a pen, opened the journal. March 13th. They've rehearsed the story. Senility, delusion, helplessness. He thinks silence is pride. He's wrong. That night, I couldn't sleep. I went into the closet, pulled out Daniel's old briefcase, the one he used in court, worn leather, brass clasps. Inside, still neatly filed, were old records, birth certificates, insurance policies, marriage licenses, and copies of the original trust. I laid it all out on the dining room table like an autopsy, all the paper, all the years, all the intention. Around midnight, I wrote the letter I would actually send, not to Ethan, to Melissa. "Hi, I've attached a voice memo I received today. You'll hear them planning to discredit me. I'm no longer interested in mediation. I want a full audit and immediate legal restriction placed on all trust activity. Call me in the morning. Eleanor Grayson." I didn't sleep, but I didn't feel tired. In the early morning, before the sun came up, I took out a match and burned the first letter I'd written to Ethan, the 3-page one from last week. I lit it in the sink and watched the paper curl and blacken. His name was the first to vanish. The robins were gone. The nest was still there, but empty. A few feathers clung to the edge like the memory of flight. I didn't write anything in the journal that day. Some things didn't need recording. Some things were already written in the skin. There's something sacred about old paper, the smell of ink, the weight of records, the way truth sits quietly, waiting to be read. I laid out the statements on the dining room table like puzzle pieces. Account activity, wire transfers, investment schedules, a ledger they never thought I'd examine. I used to keep this table for Thanksgiving dinners. Now it was a war desk. The first thing I noticed was a $9,400 withdrawal labeled Strategic Disbursement, E. Grayson. I had never authorized it. The signature was too clean, too fast. The second thing, a recurring charge, $1,250 a month to a company called Lux Data LLC, a digital marketing firm in Reno. I Googled it. Their website had a stock photo of a smiling woman with a headset and 3 grammatical errors on the front page. Legitimate? Maybe. Necessary? No. Especially not for someone who told me he was working on downsizing. Then I found it. A $24,000 consulting fee transferred to J. Avery Group. I paused. That wasn't his name. That wasn't anyone I knew. I called the number listed on the invoice. A woman answered. J. Avery Group. Hi. I'm following up on a recent payment made from the Grayson Family Trust. I'm trying to verify the nature of your services. Silence. Then, Ma'am, I'm sorry. We don't discuss client matters without verification. I'm the grantor of the fund, Eleanor Grayson. A pause. Longer this time. I'm afraid Mr. Grayson is our only point of contact. He's not. And then I hung up. I printed everything. I built a file, tabbed sections, color-coded highlights. This wasn't for me. This was for the judge, or the bank, or whoever would eventually look me in the eye and say, "Why didn't you act sooner?" Melissa called. I could hear the change in her tone the moment she finished listening to the voice memo. This is incredibly helpful and incredibly damning. Can we freeze the fund? Not entirely. Not yet, but we can flag it and request a full audit. Then flag it. The bank was less accommodating. I met with a different manager, a man in a pinstripe suit who seemed more concerned with liability than truth. Mrs. Grayson, sometimes older clients forget what they agreed to. I looked at him flatly. I didn't forget. I trusted. Not the same thing. We'd need legal instruction to restrict access. You'll get it within the week. I stood up. He reached for my file. I pulled it back. This doesn't stay here. At home, I laid the file beside the journal, wrote, March 15th, every dollar has a footprint. I followed them all. They underestimated my memory and my printer. Later, I went into the garage, found the box with Ethan's old baseball glove, a birthday card he made when he was 9, to the best mom ever. You're like a superhero with cookies. I stared at the handwriting. Same slant, same loops. It was the same hand that now forged my name on financial statements. I didn't burn the glove. I didn't cry. I closed the box, labeled it before. And I wrote one final note in the journal for the day. I'm not trying to ruin him. I'm just done letting him ruin me. He rang the doorbell twice. Not like his father. Ethan always knocked once and walked in. But Jeremy, my grandson, still rang, still waited, still smiled when I opened the door. Hey, Grandma. You're taller, I said. Or you're shrinking. Smart mouth. Come in. He was 16 now, taller than I remembered, leaner, a little too quiet for someone his age, but kind. That part hadn't changed. He handed me a paper bag with 2 scones and a cold brew coffee. Dad said you liked these. He remembered? Mom reminded him. I didn't flinch, just nodded and led him to the kitchen. We sat at the table, the same one, now cleared of trust documents. No highlighters, no paper trail, just a clean table and 2 scones that neither of us touched. He looked around the room like he was seeing it for the first time. It's quiet here. It usually is. I keep the noise out. Or the people. Sometimes they're the same. On the wall above the sideboard was a photo, one I hadn't taken down yet. Daniel, me, Ethan, and a small boy in a red shirt running through a field of dandelions. That one's you, I said. Jeremy stood, studied the photo. I thought that was Dad. No, that's you. Same crooked smile, same wild hair. He doesn't smile like that anymore. Silence. Neither do you, he added softly. He sat back down, opened his backpack, pulled out a school form. I need a signature. For an internship application. It's not a big deal. I signed without reading it. He paused. You didn't check? You're not your father. He didn't answer right away. Is it true? He asked finally. What? That you froze the trust, that you're suing him. I met his eyes. He didn't look angry, just searching. I didn't sue him yet. I froze what was mine because he used what wasn't his. He said you were confused. I'm clearer now than I've been in years. He looked down at his hands, fidgeted with the corner of the form. "Mom's been really upset." "I imagine she has." "She says this will ruin everything." "Depends on what you think everything is." He hesitated again. Then, "Can I ask something and you not get mad?" "Try me." "Why now? Why didn't you just let it go?" I leaned back, breathed in, counted to 3. "Because silence is not the same as peace, Jeremy, and I've mistaken one for the other for too long." He looked older then, not just taller, more like someone between worlds, boy and man, son and observer. "Will you still come to my concert next month?" he asked. I paused. "Will your parents let you invite me?" "I don't care if they do." "Then I'll be there." At the door, he turned before leaving. "You don't hate Dad, do you?" "No," I said, "but I no longer protect him from the consequences of his choices." He stood there a second longer, then nodded. "Tell him," I added, "that I'm awake now." He left without another word. That night, I sat alone in the living room. The house was still. I picked up the journal and wrote, "March 18th, he brought coffee and questions, left with truth. He has his father's eyes. I hope he doesn't grow into them." He didn't call first, he just showed up. I heard his car in the driveway, that same stuttering engine knock he never fixed, then the knock on the door, heavy, familiar. I opened it slowly. "We need to talk," Ethan said. "You should have called. You'd have ignored it." "You're right." I stepped aside. He walked in like he still lived there. He didn't even glance around, didn't notice the cleared table, the missing photos, the air sharp and clean. "You froze my access," he said, sitting without invitation. "No," I replied, "I froze my trust." "Semantics." "No, legal ownership." He looked older, more tired, lines on his forehead that hadn't been there before. A man who was used to being in control, a man now cornered. "You've made this messy," he said. "You made it fraudulent." He leaned forward. "I was managing things. The market is volatile. I was optimizing our resources." "You were laundering family money through fake firms." He blinked. I rarely saw him blink. I stood, walked to the kitchen counter, opened a drawer and pulled out a folder, the forged signature pages. I placed them in front of him. He didn't touch them. "Do you deny these?" I asked. "They're aligned with our long-term strategy." "They're criminal." He opened his mouth. I raised a hand. "I'm not asking for explanations. I'm giving you the truth." He stood suddenly, pacing, hands on his hips. "You're overreacting. You underestimated me." He laughed, dry and low. "God, you're always so dramatic." I opened the second drawer, pulled out a metal tray, and from it, one of the copies of the forged documents. I walked outside to the back patio, lit a match. He followed. "What the hell are you doing?" "Demonstrating clarity." The flame took fast, orange tongue licking signatures into smoke. I dropped the paper onto the tray. The wind carried black ash over the railing. He watched, stunned. I turned to him. "That's what your name looks like in fire. Now imagine mine." He stepped back. "You're not well." "I'm finally lucid." I went inside, sat at the dining room table, opened the journal, wrote, "March 20th. He came to explain. I answered in fire." He hovered near the door. "This isn't going to end the way you want." "It already hasn't. I'm still your son. And I'm still the woman you tried to silence." Then I slid a sealed envelope across the table. "This is a notarized amendment. All discretionary control reverts to me effective immediately, already filed with the court." He didn't pick it up. "If you fight it," I said, "you'll lose more than money." "Is that a threat?" "It's an obituary, for your control." He stood there, face pale, jaw tight. Then he turned, walked out, didn't slam the door, didn't say goodbye. Good. I took the metal tray of ash and dumped it into the garden, fed what was broken back to the earth. Later, I made tea, sat in silence, wrote one last thing for the day. March 20th. It's not revenge, it's release. The courthouse smelled like ink and old carpet, the kind of place where names change, homes divide, freedom is revoked, and no one makes eye contact. I arrived 10 minutes early. Melissa was already waiting. Black slacks, blazer sharp enough to draw blood. No smile, just a nod. "Ready?" she asked. "Since November," I said. The petition was 12 pages, full of language like breach of fiduciary duty, unauthorized disbursement, revocation of discretionary access. But underneath all the clauses and case numbers, it said one thing. He lied, and I won't let him keep lying. We sat before the clerk, a woman with square glasses and the kind of voice that didn't ask questions. It just expected answers. "You're the petitioner." "Yes." "Eleanor Grayson, and the respondent is—" "Ethan Grayson, my son." She didn't blink. "Type of filing?" "Emergency injunction, financial control reinstatement." She stamped it. Once, twice. Then she said the only words I needed to hear. "You're on the record." We walked out in silence. Melissa held the door for me. "Now we wait." "How long?" 2 weeks, unless he contests it." "He will," she nodded. "Then we prepare." Back home, I placed the stamped copy in the safe, not under documents, under proof. Then I made coffee. Real coffee, not tea. Strong, black. Loud in the cup. And I wrote in the journal, March 22nd, I put my name in the system. This time, it can't be ignored. The next day, I visited the bank again. New manager this time, a woman, mid-40s, efficient eyes. She had the file in front of her. "We received the injunction. Access will be restricted effective immediately." "To whom?" "All parties except you, per court order." "Will I be notified of attempts to override?" "Of course. And if someone tries, they'll be flagged and investigated." I nodded. "Make sure the flags are red." On my way out, I passed Connor, the original blue-suited manager. He saw me. I saw the flicker behind his polite smile. Not fear, but something like respect, the reluctant kind. "Mrs. Grayson," he said. "Mr. Connor. Everything resolved?" "Not yet, but finally documented." I drove home with the windows down, let the wind clear the silence. At a red light, I saw a boy, maybe 11, holding his mother's hand at the crosswalk. He laughed at something. She laughed too, and for a split second, I remembered what it felt like when Ethan used to reach for mine without thinking. Then the light turned green. I didn't look back. That evening, I pulled out my wedding ring. I hadn't worn it in years, but I needed a symbol, not of marriage, but of history, of promises made and broken. I wore it on my right hand now, not for love, for weight. Before bed, I wrote, March 23rd. He tried to erase me behind closed doors. I opened the door. Now the room sees me. There used to be a drawer marked, for Ethan. It held documents, letters, a key to a safe deposit box, and a small velvet pouch with an heirloom pendant, gold and green glass, once my grandmother's. For years, I added to it. Birthday cards, savings bonds, insurance forms, notes that began with, in case something happens. I hadn't opened it in months, until now. I pulled the drawer open slowly as if it might hiss. Everything inside was untouched, undisturbed, preserved like hope or denial. I laid it all out on the table, one item at a time, and one by one I made decisions. The pendant? I set aside, not for Ethan, for someone who hadn't asked for anything yet. The bonds, liquidated. The letters, burned. The safe deposit key? Moved to a new envelope sealed with a new name on it, not his. I called my lawyer. Can we amend the will again? Of course. What are you thinking? A beneficiary change. To whom? My grandson. Jeremy? Yes, but not to his parents. Direct custody provisions, educational trust, delayed disbursement. She paused. Want me to draw it up? Already wrote it in pencil. You'll make it permanent. That night, I invited Jeremy over. No fanfare, no warning. Just a casual dinner invite. He showed up with 2 grocery bags, pasta and garlic bread and the wrong brand of tomato sauce. Your mom sent this? I asked. No, I did. Why this one? Cheaper. I figured you'd appreciate that. I do? We cooked together. He stirred too fast, burned the garlic, laughed when I swatted his shoulder. We ate at the counter, not the table. No talk of his father, or the trust, or lawyers. Just a boy and a woman with matching sarcasm. After dinner, I handed him a small notebook. This is for you. He opened it. Blank pages. Homework? Legacy. What's that mean? It means I've spent too long writing letters to people who stopped reading. Now I want to write with someone who still listens. He looked confused, then touched the cover gently. You want me to write something in here? Not yet, just hold on to it. When he left, I opened my journal. Wrote, March 25th. A gift is only sacred when it's wanted. I'm done giving to absence. Now I give to presence. The next morning, I went to the safe deposit box, removed everything, replaced it with a new letter, handwritten, a list of accounts in Jeremy's name, and the pendant. The box was now labeled Legacy Revised. Later, I deleted Ethan's contact from my phone, but not before I changed his name to History. I hadn't looked at myself properly in years, not just a glance in the bathroom mirror, not a check for smudged mascara or crooked earrings. I mean, really looked, stared. So I did. Sunday morning, no makeup, no pretense, just the mirror in the hallway that had hung untouched for over a decade. At first, I didn't recognize her. The lines were deeper than I remembered. The mouth tighter. Eyes not tired, just still. Like water held too long in one place. I thought, is this what forgiveness looks like? Or just survival? Then I spoke out loud. What exactly were you waiting for? The woman in the mirror didn't answer. She just blinked. Once. Like she agreed. I sat on the edge of the bathtub. No distractions, no phone, no list. I thought about the days I had begged quietly, with lasagna, voicemail, well-timed Christmas cards. I thought about the hours I had rehearsed apologies I never owed. I thought about the night Ethan was born, when I held him and whispered, I'll never let anything hurt you. And I asked myself, did I include myself in that promise? There are different kinds of mothers. The kind who fight, the kind who fold, the kind who hover, the kind who disappear. I had been all of them, and I was tired. I stood, walked back to the mirror. This time, I didn't search for youth or softness. I looked for her spine, still there. I opened a drawer I hadn't touched since Daniel died. Inside, old photos, receipts, a dried-out lipstick labeled Peony No. 4. At the bottom, a note from Daniel. Faded. Ellie, stop apologizing for having teeth. Love, D. I ran my thumb over the words. Then I smiled. That afternoon, I walked to the bookstore, bought a journal. Not for Ethan, not for court, not for strategy. For me. The cover read, Start where you are. I liked that. I wrote the first page in a cafe downtown. My name is Eleanor Grayson. I am not invisible. I am not angry. I am here. Then I added, my son is not the end of me. He is the edge. I step past him now. That night, I took the journal that had carried all my pain, the one in the drawer, and placed it in a sealed box, labeled it Archive. Not trash, not fire, just no longer center stage. I poured a glass of wine, watched the sunset, and whispered to the sky, you don't have to love me back for me to be whole. I never planned to publish it. It started as a note in the margin of my new journal, a half-thought, a release. But it grew, paragraph by paragraph, until it asked for more than a drawer. The title was simple, To the Children Who Forgot Their Parents. I wrote, "You don't owe your mother eternal obedience, but you owe her honesty. If you leave, say it with truth, not with silence. If you pull away, do not pretend it was her hand that let go first." I told them what absence really feels like, not cinematic, not dramatic, just daily. I wrote about the mornings where the mailbox echoed, the birthdays that passed like street signs, the voicemail that says inbox full, not because it is, but because it's been emptied of care. I wrote about forgiveness, not as a duty, but as an earned thing. And I ended the letter like this. Some mothers grow loud when they're forgotten. Others grow still, and in that stillness they remember who they were before your name defined them. I printed it, sealed it, then mailed it to a local paper, not the big one, not national, just the one people read over coffee, where obituaries sit beside Sudoku. I didn't sign my full name, just E.G. Mother, not Martyr. 2 weeks later, it was published on page 9, small font, tucked between a retirement column and an ad for tires. I didn't tell anyone until I got the letter, handwritten, no return address. But I recognized the handwriting, shaky, slanted, but deliberate. Inside, thank you. I thought I was the only one who felt it. I haven't heard from my daughter in 6 years. Your words felt like air. Linda, 74. And then another, and another. 5 letters in the first week, 13 by the end of the month, each one from someone invisible, each one a mirror, some from mothers, some from fathers, one from a son, estranged himself, saying he hadn't spoken to his mother in years and now he would. I made a box for them, labeled it Unforgotten. Jeremy came by one afternoon, found the box, read a few of the letters. He looked up at me. "You started something." I said the quiet part out loud. "You're going to keep writing, aren't you?" "Yes. Even if no one else reads it?" "Especially then." I made a folder on my laptop, began drafting new pieces, not about Ethan, about erasure, about clarity, about resilience. They weren't rage-filled. They weren't sad. They were true. I ended the week with one last journal entry. March 30th. I mailed silence back to the world, but this time with a stamp. Maybe we don't disappear. Maybe we just wait long enough to speak again. He knocked this time. Not the heavy, demanding thud from before. Just a light, uncertain rhythm. I opened the door. He looked thinner. Not sick. Just worn. Like a jacket washed too many times. "Hi," Ethan said. "You alone?" "Yes." I stepped aside. He didn't sit. Just stood in the middle of the living room, eyes drifting over the photos still on the shelf. The ones that remained. The ones that mattered. "I read the letter," he said. "Which one?" "The one in the paper." "It wasn't for you." "I know. That's why it worked." Silence. He took a breath, shoved his hands into his pockets like a boy about to admit to breaking a window. "You were right." "About?" "All of it." "Be specific." He looked at me. Really looked. I took money that wasn't mine. I signed things I shouldn't have. I told people things about you that weren't true. I used the story of your age as a shield. A pause. And I convinced myself it was protecting the family. I didn't speak. He wasn't finished. I thought if I just kept it all moving, kept the illusion going, no one would get hurt. "You mean no one would notice?" "Yeah." Another pause. Then softer. "I was angry. I thought you were holding too much. That I deserved more. That I'd earned it. And now? Now I know I didn't even say thank you." He finally sat down. I stayed standing. "I'm not here to fix anything," he said. I had to say it out loud. Why now? Because Jeremy showed me your journal, the new one. He did. He said I needed to know who you are now, not who I remember. The room felt small, not tight, just enclosed, like everything important was finally inside it. Are you angry? He asked. Not anymore. Hurt? Yes, but it's clean now. He looked down at his hands. No ring. They left, he said. My wife. Her firm moved. She took the buyout and relocated with her sister. Said she needed distance from all of it. Including you? He nodded. You gonna chase them? No. Then you're starting. He stood. I don't expect anything. Not forgiveness, not trust. I just wanted you to see me try. I see you. He stepped toward the door. Would it be okay if I checked in sometimes? That depends. On what? If you're calling to listen, or just to be heard. He blinked, then nodded. I'll let you know the difference. He left without hugging me, and that, somehow, made it feel more honest. I sat down at the table, opened my journal. April 2nd, he came back, not to ask, just to show. I didn't let him in, I let him be. That evening, Jeremy called. He stopped by. I know. How was it? Like meeting someone for the second time. You okay? I'm more than okay. I'm unafraid. When we think of inheritance, we think of numbers. A house, a fund, a folder labeled Last Will. But that's not what lasts. Not really. People forget the passwords, sell the heirlooms, misplace the deeds. What stays? The rules they remember, the wounds they repeat, the silence they learn to copy. I decided to leave something different. I called the lawyer. Melissa, I need a new document. Amendment? No, instructional. Explain? I want to add a letter to the estate for my grandson. Legal statement? Emotional clarity. She paused. Put it in writing. I'll attach it. I started that evening, typed slowly, no revisions, just flow. To Jeremy, I've given you what I could. Money, yes, education, access. But that's not the point. What I hope I'm giving you now is permission to walk away from guilt that isn't yours, to question anyone who asks for your silence, to say no without explanation. If they ever call you cold, ask them who taught you warmth. If they say you've changed, smile. You're supposed to. You come from strong people, not perfect, not gentle, but whole. Make yourself a life you don't have to escape from. I won't be watching from the sky. I'll be rooting from the pages. Love, Grandma Eleanor. I printed 2 copies, one in the will folder, one in a sealed envelope labeled, Open when you're afraid. Later that week, I took Jeremy to the library, a quiet local place. No grand columns, just sun-warmed wood and silence you could breathe. We sat side by side. He worked on a college essay. I annotated a memoir. At one point, he looked up. Do you think legacy matters? Depends. On what? Whether it tells the truth. I showed him how to format citations. He taught me how to use AirDrop. We traded stories without naming them as lessons. On the way home, he asked, What will they remember about you? I smiled, hopefully that I stopped apologizing too late and still had time to mean it. He laughed. That sounds like a t-shirt or a warning label. That night, I opened the old safe one more time, removed the last envelope labeled to Ethan, unsealed it. Inside, a letter I never sent. Apology. Explanation. Hope. I read it once, then tore it in half, then again, until it fit in the palm of my hand like dust. I lit a candle, let it burn down to nothing. In the journal, I wrote, April 5th. I rewrote the will, not in numbers, in meaning. Legacy isn't what you leave behind, it's what you leave alive. The last page of a journal is the most dangerous. You're tempted to make it poetic, grand, to end with weighty words and folded corners. But I wanted mine plain. I woke early, made tea, not coffee. The sun hadn't risen fully yet, just a soft glow against the fence. The house quiet, clean, still mine. I sat at the same table, the same pen, the same open silence. Then I wrote, April 10th. There's no big ending, just the last time you need to say it. I closed the journal, ran my hand across the cover like you'd smooth a child's hair. No fanfare, no locking it away. I just set it on the shelf, next to the first one, side by side, pain beside clarity. That afternoon, Jeremy sent a photo, his college acceptance email, full scholarship. "You're the first person I told," the message read. I replied, "And you'll never need to explain why." Later, I opened my laptop, found the file labeled Essays for No One. I renamed it Essays for Her, because I knew now that the next story wouldn't be about Ethan or Daniel or even Jeremy. It would be about me. I submitted my first piece to a small magazine, title, I Didn't Vanish, I Just Stopped Calling, under author name Eleanor Grayson, no initials, no fear, just the whole name, mine. Weeks passed. Spring came for real this time. The birds returned, even the robins. They nested in the same corner of the porch as before. A full circle, unasked for, but welcome. One morning, Jeremy came to visit. He brought bagels, a smile, and a printed copy of the magazine. "You're in here," he said. I pretended to act surprised. "Page 32. I turned to it. There it was, my name, black on white. No footnotes, no context, no apology, just story. He watched me as I read it. "How does it feel?" "Like I returned from something I never left." He smiled. "You think people will understand it?" "The ones who need to will." That night, I left the windows open, let the breeze carry the page edges, and for the first time in years, I didn't wait for a call. I didn't fear the silence. I filled it. One last journal entry. April 12th. My voice is not a memory. It's an artifact. It remains. They called it control. I call it a chapter. I lived. I spoke. I stayed. My name was Eleanor, and I was never gone. If you're still with me and this story meant something to you, subscribe. There's more to come.